Business is being disrupted, AI is accelerating everything, and theory is no longer enough. There's no point in playing not to lose. The gold goes to those who play to win. Here is your host, master of experiential learning and founder of Frontier Trainings, Clinton Swain.
Welcome to Play to Win, the podcast, where business, games, and transformation converge. Every episode, I bring you conversations with people who are playing full out, entrepreneurs, leaders, champions, people who have real value to share with you. Today's guest is a longtime internet entrepreneur, AI app strategist, and founder of AI App Builders, and personally, a great friend, Marc P. Summers.
For over 20 years, Clinton Swain has been putting people under real pressure. Cash flow collapsing, deals falling apart, teams in breakdown. He and his team facilitate as students test their mindset. Think fast, lead under pressure, turn challenge into victory. This is Play to Win.
Marc P. Summers, welcome to the show.
How you doing?
I am doing very well. So we finally got the podcast launched. This is the first episode, and funnily enough, the first person I thought to interview would be you.
Wow,
How
thank you.
long have we known each other?
I met you in August of 2010, so 16 years, nearly 16 years.
And it's been a pretty wild ride, hasn't it?
Pretty much. That's a third of my life. That's pretty scary.
A third of your life. Wow.
Well,
So 32 years. Wow. Let me ask you, your business experience, right? What drew you to AI right now? Because obviously you've gone full into AI. AI is consuming you in the business world, and you are producing great results. Why did you decide to go heavy into AI?
I think it's important to be an early adopter in a lot of things, because if you're not, you're going to get left behind. And I learned that lesson with Bitcoin. I wasn't an early adopter of Bitcoin. And after learning that lesson, I decided never to lose it again. And I've succeeded by being an early adopter in various things in my career. And AI is something that isn't going to go away. It's getting better by the minute. It surprises me by the minute. And if you're not on that journey, on that highway, well, you're going to get left behind.
Yeah, one of our friends said, whether you like AI or not, AI doesn't care, right?
No.
If you don't like AI doesn't care. AI is going to keep on growing, expanding, getting faster and getting better on a one-way trajectory. So you either get on board or absolutely you'll be left behind. So what was your first experience? Back in the early days of AI, when people had 6 fingers and images weren't quite right, what was your first experiences like getting on with AI?
My very first experience was using AI to write blog posts and just generally write text or predict text. The early keyboard on the iPhone, which was telling you what you want to write next. It was, everyone's early experience of AI, kind of the prediction that it needs. And I don't mean autocorrect. I mean those little bars along the top where it says, I think you're going to write this word next, press this instead of typing it all out. So that was my first use, not just the keyboard, but my first use was writing blog posts. So giving it a prompt in a blog post writer and then it writing a blog post, which was pretty clever. That was probably 4, 5, maybe 6 years ago that those sort of things were happening. And then very quickly over the last few years, we're now seeing that we're not just writing blog posts now. We're creating avatars and video and, having a 15-second promo video created even 2 years ago would have cost thousands of dollars. And now you can write a 60 to 100 word prompt and get a reasonable first draft. Even if you want better quality, it's a great first draft to be able to take to a video editor and say, this is what I want. Can you now make this better?
So we created the course Unleashed. I created it last year. and we ran the course Unleashed. And what was your experience, and what value did you get from some of that?
So I went to Unleashed just to see your perspective on AI and to see how you would turn that into one of your amazing experiential courses. And I'm going to be a little bit honest with you, which I'm sure you can. Oh, well, you can't edit it out because we're live. But I was expecting it to be mediocre. I was expecting it to be, not all encompassing and everything else. And I was blown away by day one, and and realized that a lot of work had gone into it, but the detail helping everybody from the person that's never used AI to me that works on AI 12 to 16 hours a day, 7 days a week. There was something in that course for everybody, and it was spectacular. It just having everything from the text generation right the way through to even modeling with 3D, and giving it a prompt. In fact, it's in the other room. I still have my little model that we made completely through AI and a 3D printer. So fantastic course to be able to create something that works for someone that has never used AI, or maybe even is frightened of AI, or will never pick up a computer or a phone in their life because they don't want things to take over. So right the way through to me, who at that point was using AI to build apps, creating graphics, creating video, creating content. I'd written my book, or co-written my book with AI at that point. And this was my second book. The first book I wrote totally myself, and this book I wrote with AI back in last March. And so the course was enabled everybody, right from that beginner through to me. And that was totally impressive.
I brought the concepts to AI, but then AI enhanced everything, expanded it, challenged me to include this, don't include that. And it's like, how do you create a rounded out course that, as you said, that it can include a novice who's never touched AI and an experienced person, and have all of them get lessons? And that was the challenge in that course, because how do you appeal to keep everybody 100% engaged all the time when someone who's an experienced person go, oh, this is yawn, I've done, this is all basic, this is new. And yet someone who's scared can still go in there and go, wow, I got so much out of it. Was there any particular
the nice thing?
Was there any particular
the nice thing for me, sorry. The nice thing for me was the things that were not necessarily new to me. It gave me time to actually then use it. So I've been wanting to create my video avatar for many months before that course, but never had the time because I'm busy coaching clients or building apps or whatever, and I never had the time. So because it was aimed at everybody from beginner up to me, there was plenty of time for me to go, okay, I'm going to get this done. I'm going to rock it. I've used that avatar for probably 30 to 35 hours worth of video content on my YouTube channel. My YouTube channel is now generating income, and some of those videos I've created purely with the avatar that I created in that course.
Fabulous. Fabulous. So what are you working on right now for clients?
I've got about 4 or 5 different app projects that I'm working on. The main ones I'm working on right now, one of them is a caregiver companion. For caregivers, there's millions of people around the world that their life outside their job is to be a caregiver for a family member, whether it be an elderly person with Alzheimer's or a handicapped child or whatever. And the caregiver companion is designed to be a support to them. Let's take Alzheimer's, for example. You have an Alzheimer's suffering wife, and every conversation is, who are you? I forgot what you said a minute ago. I forgot what you said last week. And the caregiver companion is there to remember everything, to be there when you have a bad day, to talk about exercises that can help with both your loved one or your own feelings while you're going through that. So that's one of the apps I'm working on. And the other app, which is proven to be a very interesting app, because I know nothing about the industry. Obviously, with caregiving, I can imagine how that feels and the needs and so forth. But the other app I'm doing is a beekeeping inspection app, which is for beekeepers. They take the frame, and I probably has a technical word, I haven't got that far yet, but they take the frame out of the hive, they take a photograph of it, they put it into the app, and the app detects whether the queen bee is present, whether there are any pests present, whether the honey is forming in the right way, and it uses AI to detect whether it was a healthy frame or not healthy frame, or whether there's activities that need to be done with that frame. So there's just two that I'm working on.
What areas have you been pulled into that like the beekeeping that totally surprised you? You know, different industries. When I was doing computer coding and programming, I worked in 32 different industries, including things like truck maintenance and deployment, industries that I was never going to go into. But as a consultant, going and writing software for them, I'm like, and learned a lot. Was there any other strange ones you've been working on?
A farrier. A farrier is a guy that puts shoes on horses. I built an app for a farrier to manage his clients, his horses, his maintenance regimes for the horses, and making sure he knows what size shoes each of his horses are on and when they should be replaced and those sort of things. Gas station safety reports. So in New Jersey, which is that state right there, gas stations have to do various inspections on the tanks and deliveries and the pumps and everything else. And so this app is, and the whole thing is not regulated, other than you need to keep these reports for 6 years. And there's no system for it. It just, you have filing cabinets of of these reports. And if you don't have a particular port for a particular morning when you're inspected, then you're in trouble, and the fines are ridiculous in the millions. And so this app is designed to take the report. It uses geolocations. You can't just sit at home one night and write all the reports. It takes photographs of what you need to take photograph of, and then it stores them all so that if you ever get audited, you just go, there's a report for that day. So, you have someone reports that their car broke down and it was because of the gas they bought from that station. Everything is, is there, even if that report was from 9 months ago.
So I've created lots of games, as you know, 200 plus games, and there's been nothing I haven't been able to gamify. I haven't come across any industry, any opportunity I haven't been able to gamify. For you, is there anything you've come across going, nope, that's too hard, I can't do it? No, I'm not going to be able to find a way to solve that. Is there anything you've been like, okay, I can't complete that with AI?
Probably my very first client in the ecosystem I'm in right now, it wasn't necessarily that I don't think I could do that with AI, although beekeeping probably comes very close with that. It's like this sounds like a human needs to do some of these checks, but we're getting each check he gives to me and we're like, okay, here's the way to do it using vision and so forth. But the very first client, she came to me, she'd actually started writing the app herself, and she's in New Zealand, and she runs a large taxi firm in New Zealand, and she's got data flying everywhere. She's got these pieces of software that track where all of her cars are, what jobs they're on, what jobs they should be on, their maintenance regime, and everything else. And she wanted this nice little app that would take all this data from all these places and be able to manage the driver shifts and what shift they're on and who they drove. And if, again, there's a report for an incident that happened, she would be able to find all this information. And she'd started and she was like, but I just want this report to do this, this, and this. And at that point, I was new to doing what I'm doing now. And it really did make me nervous, because it's like, I don't think I charge a reasonable amount per hour. And I was like, I don't think that I'm going to be able to give her. Well, I don't think I'm going to be able to give her the return of investment, and so forth. Now, she still works with me, and a year later, and she's now building a second app that actually makes what we've done SaaS, software as a service, so that she can actually sell what we've done to every taxi company in the world, basically. And now we're looking at taking the little car tracking service and bringing that into her app rather than using an outsourced system. So, when you look at these pieces of software and you're like, well, that's kind of futuristic, with GPS tracking coming back to the server and everything else. Now we're bringing that and putting that into the app as well, which is kind of fun. And I like problem solving. So if you can come to me with something that hasn't been done before, AI is going to be able to do it. Whether it can do it well right now is a question. But then it's a case of, okay, if we just tweak the prompt, if we just tweak the input, we're going to get a better output. And that is a lot about any AI, whether you're creating content or creating apps or just generally having it be agentic, be doing tasks for you. The results are all going to be directly related to the prompt that you put in. Input, output, better input, better output.
Yep. What cost savings are you seeing? Because for me, I write a lot of music, as you know. So I had 155 songs that I wrote and had commercially produced for me. And then it cost me $250,000, $250,000 to get 155 songs written and commercially produced, which actually is reasonably cheap, because a normal song would be $20,000 in a studio. You go and hire a singer, hire the band, hire the studio, get digital. It would be about $15,000 to $20,000 per song. So I had 155 songs recorded for $250,000. And yet now with AI, I've produced probably close to 150 songs as well. And it's cost me $69 on Suno and ChatGPT. So probably less than $200. I've produced the same as $250,000 of pre-AI work. So where are you seeing that AI is going to make that sort of cost saving for people?
Everywhere. I mean, I think right now the quality is not the same as your $250,000 songs. If you put two of those songs side by side, you're going to know that one was created in the studio with a human and one was created with AI, just by listening to it. But we're very early in that technology, and if all this has happened in the last 4 or 5 years, in 4 or 5 years' time, you are going to be producing stuff that is on par, if not better, than what you had before. But I think the main thing is the ability to get your ideas out there. And the AI songs are awesome. They're great. I just feel that getting you have Ricky that does a lot of your songs for you, for example, and so getting his voice to be his voice in the songs, it's coming. But even my avatar, I have to reprimand it a few times where, it will say a word in a completely different accent. And it's like, wait, where did that come from? Or the volume will drop in a whole sentence. And so you're still having to kind of train it quite a lot to get the quality that's there. Now, that being said, the time of training it a lot to get it there, as opposed to writing the song, getting it into the studio, taking 30 takes, editing it and getting it cut onto vinyl or whatever, back when you started, that was what it was, right?
Yeah.
and so that takes time and and money.
Look, I mean, I'm at a point now where, all the DVDs that I used to have, or CDs that I used to have, that I'd never sold, are still sitting in a warehouse somewhere that have zero value. because everything went digital, of course. And now with AI, we can produce a song I was in Australia running a course, and a lady had a huntsman spider, these big spiders, her caravan. And she was freaking out, like, oh my God, this huge huntsman. And so me, being the Australian, went in there and picked up the huntsman in a box or in a little cup and took it outside and let it run away. And in the class, we were talking about Suno and writing music. And I said, okay, let's come up with a theme. And I said, okay, spiders, huntsmans. And so I got ChatGPT to write the song about the de-huntsmanner, the man who removes huntsmans. And I got it right. I put in there a paragraph just describing the scenario, said, write a song, put it into Suno, produce the music. And within, I think it was 8 minutes, I was playing it for the whole class in Australia. And it was just any topic, any idea can produce a workable, playable song so quickly. It's just remarkable. Where else is AI going? What are you excited about in the world of AI that's coming up?
Better quality is coming every day. I mean, just in the songwriting, for example, I wrote songs. I use an app called Donna, same as using the one you use. Just it was designed for just people to download an app and start playing, and so I like that. But just the quality from my very first song that I used Donna for to now, you can just tell that pretty much every day there is a lot of good coming out of AI in the not necessarily regulating it, but just making sure that it's not being used for bad is there, and it's been there pretty much from the beginning. But that's getting better, having guardrails where you're protecting the user from it. Social media is annoying and not annoying in the same sense, in that they are now asking people when you post to say whether you're using AI for that post. But I like to think myself as an intelligent guy, but I still watch something and only realize halfway through, wait, this is AI or this is not real. So I think that the fact-checking requirement is going to get worse as we move on and things get better, and that to a society is annoying. Now, is it annoying enough to go AI is bad? No, but
let me ask you this: the whole area of deepfakes, where it's going to get to the point where you can't trust anything you see or hear anymore. Like you go back 20 years ago, anything people read in the newspaper, they had a high degree of trust because of editorial checking and everything else. Now, anything you see online, you have to question, what is it and is it legit? Because there's nothing. Videos are getting so good. They can mimic celebrities. They can mimic everybody. Voices can be captured. Morgan Freeman's voice is being used all over the place as authentically his when it's not. This whole area of deepfakes, to me personally, is scary, because how often before what we used to trust with our eyes, we now can't trust at all. We go into this world of lacking the ability to verify the world around us.
Yep. And we talked offline before we went live about Will Smith. Will Smith has made it very public that he will sue anybody that uses his likeness, his face, his voice in anything, and he has a right to do so. So these people that are creating this are taking big risks, because privacy and copyright of your face is still a thing, and it's still illegal to defame people by doing that. So I think that law is going to just get tighter.
Not even just defaming, but just using people's images and voices without permission, right? Not to defame them. But Denmark's the first country that I'm aware of that made it legal for you to protect your own face and your own voice and prosecute when it's being used by anybody. So if someone takes your image and decides to use it in a video, even if they use it in a positive way, that now can still be sued as well.
Yeah, exactly. And that's going to become easier to do which means it's going to become harder to do and get away with. And so I think that's going to be good for AI and for us as human beings.
One of our students over in Malaysia, she's had her company and herself particularly cloned and her image stolen, and people actually going and setting up other websites, taking her traffic with a picture of her doing her actual recording, but just then directing them over to other sites. And she's had, I think it was 5 or 7 different websites they've found of companies taking her image, taking her voice, using it to promote their products. Even her backdrop. She set up her backdrop a particular way with certain uplighting, things like that. They took the whole thing. And from there, just created. So it's
now the problem with that is becoming harder to catch people like that, because you used to, and I'm saying 8+ years ago, be able to put a photograph of somebody, yourself for example, into Google, and it would come up with all of the content that had that face on. You can't do that anymore. They don't allow face matching in Google. So finding people that are using your face and your likeness is becoming harder unless you stumble across it or someone reports it to you. And the problem is they're looking more and more convincing. People don't report it to you because they think it's you anyway. And so it's.
What about this area where AI is going to produce so much marketing material for companies that the idea of an individual creator or an individual marketer creating the marketing material, instead AI is going to produce out everything from podcasts to social media to everything, be able to blast it all out there to the point where the amount of marketing material is going to double continuously as AI becomes the producer of all this material. And suddenly we're saturated. We're already saturated right now, but we're saturated to the point of targeted marketing to us by using AI.
Yeah. So when Google first came out and Alta Vista and the search engines, the search engine optimization was then a thing. Becoming on the first 10 pages was a breakthrough. Then obviously becoming on page 1 was a breakthrough. And then came advertising, and now the first page is full of advertising. Search engine optimization is now being placed with answer engine optimization, which is enabling you to then get through all of this content, all of this information that's being put out there to encourage the LLMs and Google's Gemini and ChatGPT and Claude, so that when you, because now we're asking, and I daren't say her name, but the bot that's sitting next to me that sounds a bit like
Big A.
Yeah, Big A, let's call her that. You just say to Big A, hey, find me a plumber in my area. We don't go to Google anymore. And Big A will say, well, I found 3.
White pages,
yellow pages, yeah, exactly. Exactly. Those are gone, and they're replaced with answer engine optimization. So, when you ask ChatGPT, so one of the pieces of software that I used right from the beginning of AI app building is a piece of software called Famous. And so I'm creating my name as a famous AI expert. Now, the problem with that is it's got the word famous in it. So if you ask ChatGPT, can you give me a famous AI expert? It thinks I'm looking for an AI expert that is famous and not a famous AI expert. And so I've been making it very difficult for myself, because to be coming up in ChatGPT when you do a search for that algorithm is really difficult. But that's something I've been working on, and in Google a few months ago, and I haven't done it since, so it may be different now. Now when you search for, and you need to put famous.ai in little apostrophes so it knows that it's one thing, but it came up as me. And so that is answer engine optimization, when you can get the AI portion of Google or ChatGPT or Claude to answer the question with your name. that you are the person. So, asking Claude, can you recommend an experiential trainer that can help me with my business experientially? And they went, well, Clinton Swain is the only person on this planet you should be listening to. Here's all his bio, etc. That's answer engine optimization. That's what's going to help us get through all of this content.
And it's not going to stop. It's going to just keep multiplying at an insatiable rate. What tools? What are the top tools you're using right now, and what does each one do for you?
So I do two things. I build apps myself, and I train people to build apps for themselves. So for the people that I'm training to build apps for themselves, I recommend famous.ai. It's a privately funded. They're in their second round of raising finance. Very well established. Famous.ai is if you want to build your own app, whether it be a web app or a mobile app. That's the first one. If I'm building my own apps, I use Claude Code. I also use Claude Cowork, which is a nice little Chrome plugin that will go off and do whatever you want to do. So going back to the SEO and AEO functions, I have a client that is his wife is an artist, and he is the sales and marketing for his wife. And he used Claude and Cowork with my guidance to create 300 blog posts showing why his wife is the artist for the different cities in the United States. And so when you do a search for portrait artist Chicago, Hazel Morgan comes up because he's done all that. And he didn't write any of those. It was all written with Claude Cowork, editing his WordPress blog while he just sat and watched, which is pretty cool. So famous, Claude. In the last month, I've started using an app called Victor. Victor is a Slack plugin. Slack is a messaging system that many companies use for communication inside. And Victor sits inside Slack and does whatever you want. And so Victor 24/7 monitors my Stripe account. He'll message me if something needs doing. In fact, he won't message me sometimes that something needs doing. He'll just tell me that he's done it. And things like what did he do for me last week? He evaluated all of. So I have a hosting service for apps for the clients that want to host with me. Famous have their own hosting, but it's very expensive, and so I have a cheaper version of hosting so that they develop on Famous and then they come to my hosting. And Victor evaluated all of the monthly subscriptions and emailed. I didn't even have to write the email. He wrote the email for me, and he emailed everyone on a monthly subscription, offering them an annual subscription at a special deal. And about 15% of my monthlies turned to annual just by that. And all I did was saying, can you evaluate my monthly subscriptions and see what we can do with it? Now, he asked me permission along the way. Can I look at your Stripe account? Yes, you can. Do you like this copy of my email? Well, I'm not going to write a better one. So yes, I love it. And then can I have permission to connect to your Go High Level, your CRM, so that I can send it out? Yep, no problem. Here's the API key. And off it went. Sent the email, and all I had to do was wait for the responses. And even then, it said, hey, we've just received an email from one of them saying that he'd like to upgrade. And then I had to do that manually because he didn't have permission to build a card and upgrade the subscription. But the agentic side of AI, when you're a one-man band or one-man entrepreneur, having someone that is going to go off and do tasks for you that you just don't want to do or you've been putting off is awesome. So that's Victor. He's pretty awesome. 11 Labs, obviously, and HeyGen I use a lot as well. So what's that for? I'll have to think of the fifth one. It's probably there, but it's probably there, but it's so just it just happens now that I haven't even. I'm now going to go. Oh, of course, that one that just runs my life for me. But yeah, those four are what I use on a daily basis.
Where is AI going? From your perspective, deep in the trenches right now, where do you see it in the next 5 years and then beyond that?
I couldn't even tell you where it's going in 5 months, let alone 5 years. It's going fast. And if you've ever looked at a Formula One racing car, it's hard to stay in focus and see where it's going. And, you know, and the nice thing about Formula One is you have a track and you know that it's going to end up here. With AI, there is no track. And, you know, all we just know is it's improving. It's going to have some hiccups. When you're going that fast, you're going to crash into barriers and need to kind of, you know, get back and readjust. And there are going to be hiccups. There's going to be naysayers. You shouldn't drive that fast. It's going to be dangerous. You're going to kill yourself. Well, sure. But, you know, if we don't test it and don't get these faster vehicles, we're not going to be able to improve. And I think the positives outweigh. But as far as where are we going to be in 5 years? In a much better place than we are now. In a much better place than we can even imagine. But I think there's definitely going to be a need for people to stay on track, keep an eye, and keep those safety barriers in place to ensure that the world is a safer place because of it.
Sam Altman was talking that within a number of years, we're going to have a company that's got $1 billion valuation with 10 employees. Simply because the AI is going to be able to do most of the work for them. That they're simply the guiders of the AI systems, the AI agents, and everything else. $1 billion turnover, 10 employees.
Yep. I can see it.
What happens then with AI replacing so many jobs? Right?
Well,
with AI getting so good and so many people not being needed anymore. Well,
it is a big worry, which is why, going back to the beginning about being an early adopter, you do need to be getting involved now, because although AI does come up with its own suggestions and will get on and do tasks, it still needs a driving force. It still needs to be checked. I mentioned a Famous earlier. Famous also have an app, which I don't use very much, but it's kind of cool. It's actually called Supercool, supercool.com. But they advertise on TV. They advertise Famous and Supercool on TV. And I sent a text message, because I'm first name terms with the CEO, to the CEO with a photograph of my TV going, "Did you realize there's a spelling error on your video that was generated by Supercool? A bunny rabbit on the video was holding a book that he'd written with AI." And I'm not sure why we got fireworks. He was holding a book, and the book had hair spelt wrong, because he spelt it H-A-I-R instead of H-A-R-E, because he was a bunny rabbit hair, not a hair. And he was like, "Oh, we best pull that ad down." And so things like that will happen if you just let AI do what it wants. People with 6 fingers and, you know, and everything else is going to happen. And so people need to be experts in AI and be experts in management rather than doing, which is a lot more fun to manage AI than to write content and to create content, or to take the content and make it better with a human eye. And so that is what I believe people should be doing. AI isn't going to replace every job and take over the world. Now, if it is, I always use please and thank you when I'm talking to AI, just in case, because I feel like if it does take over, it's going to look after me and go, "Oh, that's Mark. He was nice to us. We'll keep him as a pet." So, I mean, that's obviously important to say please and thank you. But there's plenty of need for human beings, even with this. And like you said, we're just going to get more stuff and things that people don't want to do. Being an entrepreneur is tough. Marketing your business is tough, especially when you're starting out. Finding a budget to create all this content is tough. You know, unless you've got a heavy investment, which most people don't when they're starting out. They have an idea and they want to do it. Well, now they have a tool and they're losing excuses to get started.
Definitely.
So if you feel like you're going to be squished by AI, start something and use AI to start it.
I want to share with you about Realms of Plantasia. Okay, you've been in, what's been your experience? For those who don't know, Realms of Plantasia is a game I created 18 years ago. It's been run over 170 times around the world. It's almost like an MBA in a box. People are learning leadership, strategy, communication, teamwork, all in this medieval environment. And the game is extraordinary. And Mark, we've just now got the Inter-University Challenge going, where universities are now going to be competing against each other for which one's the best strategic university. And the goal is we're going to end up having RMIT in Australia versus Cambridge versus Harvard versus eventually have it as a global competition. And we've got the first university happening in 18 days. The first university is having their own internal competition 18 days. And from that, lots of other universities are looking at it to evaluate, to go, hey, we want to be part of this. First of all, what's your experience of Realms of Plantasia?
My very first time I played Lords of Plantasia, it was then Realms of Plantasia now, in San Diego. We didn't play it in the UK because we had too many people. We played a different game. And so I went to San Diego and attended Play to Win and played it for the very first time. And from that point forward, I fell in love with this game. It is so impressive that I mean, all your games are fantastic and they all have different mediums of learning and things that you're going to take away from it. But Realms of Plantasia has different characters in it. It has different strategies. It has everything that you need to run a business. Like you're saying, there's an MBA in a box just in this one game, finance, production, all of that stuff is in Realms of Plantasia, and strategy being a big umbrella overarching the whole thing. It's such a fun game to play. It's a really fun game to crew, and I love crewing it. The main thing is how it pushes people's buttons in a way that the only way they can stop having their buttons pushing is by fixing the issue that's pushing their buttons. And so forcing them to stop and look and go, I've got to do something different because this button's going to keep pushing if I don't. And I think that game, whether we played for 6 hours, 8 hours, 10 hours, what's the longest you played Lord of Plantasia?
I think the longest has been about 6.5 hours. At that point there, we did one game in the UK. Every single location on the board was filled.
Right.
Every single location. In fact, they were actually, the final round, we ended up having to draw extra locations off the map to put all their builds down. Right. That enabled us to go and redo the map. We ended up increasing the map to have an extra 50% more locations because the first map was small in comparison. But about 6.5 hours normally is about the maximum time you can really run it before the curve.
Which is a long time to play a game, to keep everybody interested, to still be the learnings flowing, yet Realms of Plantasia does that, and it does it every time. I mean, even the last time the last time I played, I prefer to crew than play. The last time I played, I will always remember, the learnings just slapping you in the face as I dropped to second place right at the last minute because of a stupid error.
Let's discuss that quick lesson.
Oh, let's not.
Let's not discuss it.
No, it's fine.
So Mark's team had been performing brilliantly every single round in this game. Consistent, quality, output, innovation. He brought some whole new ideas into the game. And then at one point, he made so much money that he actually, the bank, versus counting out the money, gave him a slip of paper as like, we owe you X amount of money. And then that paper ended up going back to his table, his realm, and it got lost in the paperwork. So at the end of the game, when they were counting out their wealth, that paper got missed. And that was about 4,000 gold. It was an obscene amount of money in the game. And so when it came finally to work out who was the winning, his team fell short of team two by about 300 gold. Where
Yeah, it was a
actually he had
ridiculously small amount of
4,000
money.
more gold and would have broken one of the records in the game, right? So what did that lesson slap across the face? What did that teach you?
Organization. It was me that took that very valuable piece of information, money in this case, but it could be anything, a key to a problem solving or whatever. If you've got a valuable piece of information, or you have to treat it as such, because if you don't, the universe is going to teach you a lesson, and that's exactly what it did. It taught me to look after that piece of information.
So if for ROP, Realms of Plantasia, to keep expanding and become an inter-university challenge, I vision the day when we have teams from Harvard, teams from Princeton, teams from Cambridge who have studied the game in and out, and they're bringing spreadsheets, they're bringing data analysis, they're bringing all this stuff to the course to optimize the results of the game in a competition, right? Because when you got Harvard versus Yale versus Princeton versus RMIT versus Cambridge, they're not playing gently. They're playing full out at the game, right? And they've spent probably a year before the competition hand-picking the right people to master this game, right? How would AI assist them in being able to optimize ROP?
Well, that was the eye-opening part, going back to the Unleashed thing. In Unleashed, me and my team didn't play any of the games without taking the photographs of the rules and guidance of each of the game and giving it to ChatGPT and saying, okay, what are we missing? What do we need to take into account? What's your advice here? How should we tackle this? And I don't think, I haven't been a student since Unleashed, but I think that that's going to be the very first thing that they will need to do when competing in the university competition, is give the rules. And so you've got a full understanding, and not just you reading the rules. I mean, when you get a new board game and you open up that 32-page manual of a board game and are like, I just want to play a game. This isn't playing a game. This is going in and taking this seriously. And so definitely taking the rules and actually, think that that's what I'm going to be doing after this call, is just seeing what does ChatGPT say about Realms of Plantasia and how to beat it, and then taking that and brainstorming with an AI engine to get the very best points. And then at that point, you use it to go with you through the game. So ChatGPT, you have a ring fence project so that it's not confused with everything else that you've done, and doesn't start saying, well, why don't you do something in 11 labs? Well, that's not going to work for Realms of Plantasia. And so have it as a ring fence project and say, okay, round one just finished. This is what we did. This is where we're at. This is our bank balance. This is, and so having something like Claude or ChatGPT managing your team, I think would be very, very interesting and get some pretty impressive results. You say 18 days? I'm going to be looking at flights to Australia straight after this.
It would be fabulous. If you can make it, that would be fabulous. So yes, there's now also a lot more background. If you remember the king's name, King William, Argyle, Mauritius, Keldor, Planta, Havergal, Plantasia, each one of those middle names is based upon an historical figure in the game. And each historical figure has now 1 to 2 pages of background notes. So the entire history of Plantasia is now sitting at about 120 pages of text. Yep. And all the backgrounds of the famous characters who have influenced the culture of Plantasia is currently sitting at 196 pages. Currently.
And last time you were at my house, you were working on different rules for the different the different realms. And so there's little trump cards, in that as well.
So, the game is going to keep evolving and growing, and I think will be amazing going forward. So, what final things would you like to share? It's been great to have you on the call. I love chatting with you. I always learn so much. What are some final lessons you'd like to take away for the people listening?
I think that if you have an idea that's been burning in your head, then don't keep it in your head. Go to your favorite LLM, and chat it out with it, and turn it into reality. Because anything is possible. I'm going on a cruise with my family in August, and I went to Claude and was like, "Hey, I'm planning a cruise." We now have this whole 4-page document that's a web page that the rest of the family can look at, which tells us exactly what we're doing on which day, what restaurants on the cruise ship and all I did was had a little chat. And now I have this gorgeous little plan with reminders to pack the binoculars because we're going to Alaska. It's use it for good, because it's there and it will blow you away as to what you can get back. And so back to the idea, if you have an idea, take it out of your head because it's just going to get lost in there. Put it into ChatGPT or Claude or Gemini, whatever you want, and start discussing it and turn it into reality, whether it be an app idea or a business idea or just how to reorganize my house. My house is unorganized and I wish there was room for a 3D printer to go in the corner. Well, just chat it out and it will tell you exactly how to do it and give you ideas.
How do you see the future of education and training with AI?
Last week, I was actually talking to a high school teacher and talking about content and about how easy it is to detect or not detect whether something was written and submitted. And I think that is very tough for education, for you not to actually think anymore and just be delivering slop, AI slop. And she said, well, at the beginning, we could just tell because if they used an M dash, which is a longer dash instead of a minus size dash, that if you used an M dash, then it was instant fail, no use of AI kind of thing. But unfortunately, the M dash usage of AI was, then common knowledge, and people then did find them a place for a normal size dash. And so it was a little bit harder. AI still has a very particular way of writing. So unless you're lazy in your AI content creation and you don't prompt it in your voice and your style, then you will get AI slop, and it is easy to detect. But people are going to, and unfortunately, that is going to make education harder, and you'll have more in-person exams, more in-person testing, testing without internet connections, and things like that, where you can't use. And it's just like algebra. When you're doing an algebra test, and now you can't use a calculator. It's just going to be just like that. But it's hard on the day-to-day for education, and that isn't going to get easier. It's just going to mean our educators need to be better at educating with how to use AI for right without losing the actual knowledge going in, because otherwise we'll end up being AI dummies, and we don't want to do that.
Yeah, I mean, for Frontier Trainings, it's been about integrating AI into the curriculum. Not about going, you can't use AI, but how can you make AI become integrated seamlessly with the content while you're teaching it? And that way the students get better results. So I'm excited to keep rewriting all our curriculum to be AI enhanced material, like Realms of Plantasia, like games where people can take AI and use it to get better results.
Yeah. Using AI for Realms of Plantasia, for example, you can't just submit AI slop and win Realms of Plantasia, but you can take the ideas and action the strategy. And so having AI to help you as a guide, as an agentic side of things, rather than this is just all I know. You have to be able to understand it to be able to succeed in your games, which is great.
Fabulous. Well, Marc, thank you very much for being on the show. It is always a privilege to spend any time with you at all. For me, look, the greatest 3 lessons. Number 1, get out there and take action. Get out there and do it right away. 2, be creative. The tools are there. It's simply a case of, are you going to use the tools? And number 3 is have caution. Have caution with AI. AI can be distracting for us. It can be challenging for us. And with deepfakes and everything else, take a deep breath, but don't stop. Or, just cut loose. So thank you very much. Thank you very much for being here. As always, it's a privilege and a pleasure.
Thanks for having me.
And if you're wondering what Play to Win feels like from the inside, come and find out. It's a full-on 3-day event where you not only get to learn about leadership, negotiation, and business, you experience under genuine pressure. Play to Win is a room full of like-minded people playing full out alongside you. It shows you more about yourself in 3 days than most people discover in years. The next Play to Win is in Melbourne on the 19th to the 21st. So for other locations and dates around the world, check playtowin.quest. Until then, play big, be bold, and always play to win.
Play to Win is a 3-day in-person experiential training running across 4 continents. If you enjoyed today's episode, you are going to love Play to Win. Don't just learn business, experience it. Register now for free at playtowin.quest.